Hey guys, it's Sarah, and today is BookList Thursday. This is a video series I do with my friend Lindsay over at Lindsay's Little Library. And every Thursday we bring you a fun list of something that we feel like talking about that is related to books. And for the month of November, we are doing genres that we're thankful for. So these are some of our favorite genres, and we are going to give you a few books that we loved in that genre, and then a couple of books off our shelves that we haven't read yet that is also in that genre. So it's going to be, a lot of recommendations from us, some of our favorites, plus some things that we really want to read. And then we want to ask you guys for your recommendations in these genres as well. So we want you to tell us what some of your favorites are so we can be on the lookout for those. And today I'm going to be talking about historical fiction, which is funny because Lindsay did historical fiction last week. And when we came up with this idea to do this for the whole month, we did not plan out, we're not planning to do the same genres on the same days, if that makes any sense. We just wanted to do whatever our favorite genres are and do them whenever we want. So we haven't planned that meticulously. It was just like, let's do this and go. So I'm glad she did historical fiction last week because I did thrillers. And now this week I am doing historical fiction. And I think I have one that was on her list, and everything else is different. So I'm pretty positive that's how it was. But I will go ahead and tell you some of my favorites, and then I will show you a couple on my shelves. And it was hard to narrow down the couple on my shelves because I have a lot. All right, so let's just go ahead and get my favorite out of the way. This is one of my favorite books of all time. I'm talking probably like top 3 of all time. And it's also the one that was on Lindsay's list. And that is The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. This book is so beautiful, and there's just no other way to describe this book. I have recommended it countless times, so many times, because it's just a heartbreaking story that will just tug at every one of your emotions. I even know people who don't like historical fiction who have loved this book. And it's because the way that she wrote it is so engaging, and she makes you care about people. She makes you care about people you shouldn't care about and make you feel things that you probably shouldn't be feeling. And it's just this story. It follows 2 sisters in World War II who are living in Nazi-occupied France. And they are sisters, but they are polar opposites. And the different roles that they play in the war is so interesting. We have the older sister who is married. She has a child. Her husband goes off to war. So she's at home taking care of her child, taking care of the house. That's her job. And she's comfortable with that. She does what she has to do to make sure her family is safe and taken care of and things are fine. Her sister, on the other hand, is younger, not married, very independent, very much wants to be part of taking down the Nazis and, fighting back against them. And you see how differently they react to the same things that are happening to them. So very, very good. I can't sing its praises enough. I really can't. It is, again, one of my favorites of all time. And it's just, I can't say enough good things about it. The next one I have is The Life She Was Given. This is by Ellen Marie Wiseman. I loved this book so much. This book is actually circus themed. So it follows a young girl who is born into a very unfortunate family. Her parents are awful. So she's born with a condition, and it's not blatantly told from the beginning exactly what she's born with. But it's enough that her parents are shamed about it, and they don't let her go outside. Like, they don't even let her leave her room most of the time. And they basically keep her as a prisoner in her own home. One day, a traveling circus comes to town, like practically in their backyard. And the mother decides that she's going to sell her daughter to the circus because she's a freak of nature. And she sells her to the circus, and that's what happens. And then you follow this young girl growing up in the circus and finding out what's actually going on with her and, why she's different from everybody else. You see her make friends. You see her fall in love. You see her fight for her life quite a bit. This is also a dual timeline. So you are also following another family that's in the future, and they have a connection to the house that this girl used to live in. So that was very interesting as well. But this book Number one, I love circus books. Anything that has a circus setting is something I usually really, really enjoy. And I loved this one so much. And there is a scene in this book that has to do with the elephants that is still just one of the most gorgeous scenes I've ever read. And I can still vividly picture it in my head. It's so beautiful. And, yeah, it made a big impact on me when I read it. I absolutely loved it. I definitely want to read more from this author. And yeah, so this was fantastic. The next one that I have here is Salt to the Sea by Ruta Sepetys. Anything by Ruta Sepetys really at this point is going to be a fantastic historical fiction because this woman does her research. She really, really does. This one follows the true story of a ship that was taken down in World War II. And I believe, let me see if I can find the name of it because I can't fully remember the name of it. The Willem Gustloff is the ship that this was named. And it was taking some German refugees, like refugees were getting on the ship to be taken to safety. The Russians took down this ship and this really happened. And it was one of the worst maritime attacks, I guess you could say. And I think even more people died than died on the Titanic. But the German government kept it hush hush and really covered it up because they didn't want to look weak. And that's why you don't hear about a lot of it because it wasn't reported very well back then. So this one you're following, I believe, 5 different characters and you're getting different perspectives. One of them is even a German soldier. So that was very interesting. And you see how all these 5 people come together and how they survive together. And it's really like a journey. They're going from one place, trying to get to another place in the middle of a war. It's fantastic. The chapters are also very short, so it goes very quickly. I read this really, really quick. It is a young adult as well. So there is that. And I loved it. It really I remember reading it in just fascination. It was fantastic. The last one that I have read, and I actually read it earlier this year, and that is The Lost Girls of Paris. This is by Pam Jenoff. And this book is fantastic. This is another dual timeline. So we follow a woman who is living in New York, and I think it was in the 1946 in Manhattan, and she is at Grand Central Station, I believe, and she finds a suitcase, like an abandoned suitcase, and she doesn't know who this belongs to. She's looking around, no one's around, like that looks like they're looking for a suitcase. She ends up claiming it and taking it with her, and when she opens it, she finds a ton of photographs of different women. And she's able to use the photographs somehow to figure out that the women in this suitcase were part of an undercover group who worked as spies in World War II. And you go back in time as well to see like how this group was formed and where these women came from. So it's a dual timeline as well. And it's about, this woman trying to figure out who these women are so that they can be recognized or she can find them or whatever. And then you're also following what was happening during the war and what these women went through. It was fantastic. I was engaged the entire time. I really wanted to know what was going to happen. It was scary at times what these women went through, and just, when there were scenes described of them walking through the town where they're undercover and they're being spies and just having to hold their breath because they never know what's going to be around the corner, and just how dangerous it was back then. Like, it was so scary and put in some really dangerous situations. But the writing was beautiful, and I loved every word of it. And one book that I have on my shelves that really stood out to me when I was looking for books, because I could have picked any of them, to be honest with you. When I was looking for things that, I'm really excited to read, this one popped up, and that is My Dear Hamilton. This is by Stephanie Dray and Laura Comodi, and this is a novel of Eliza Hamilton. So this is following Hamilton's wife. And I recently saw Hamilton last year. It's been more than a year now that I've seen it. But ever since I saw Hamilton and have listened to Hamilton even before that and kind of started getting a little bit obsessed with it, I've wanted to read all these books that are coming out that feature them as characters. And, these are not nonfiction books. These are fictionalized, stories about them, but it's still fascinating to me because I'm sure that there's some truth behind some of this stuff. And I'm sure a lot of these stories came out of, situations that were researched and stuff like that. But yeah, this was one that popped out to me because I really do want to read more things that feature Hamilton as character and, people that were in his life and stuff. And I have quite a few books on my shelves. All right, and the last one that really stood out to me, and that's because this has been popping up on my radar a little bit more lately. I've heard a few people talking about it and some people saying it's one of their favorites of all time, and that is Beneath a Scarlet Sky. This is written by Mark Sullivan. Now, this is a World War II historical fiction, and this one follows a young boy in Italy, and he's a teenager, and I believe Germany's starting to invade Italy. This kid wants nothing to do with anything with having to do with the war, but his parents actually force him to enlist as a German soldier, hoping it'll keep him safe. But he ends up getting injured, and I believe he ends up being a personal chauffeur to one of Hitler's top commanders type thing. So he gets in a unique position where he can actually be a really good spy for the Italians. And I've heard amazing things about it. I really have. Anyone who talks about this book and has read it says that they absolutely love it. And it's one that I really would like to read at some point. Okay, guys, those are some of my favorite historical fiction books, plus a couple that are on my shelves that I really, really want to read. Let me know your favorite historical fictions down below, so that I can see if I have them. Maybe they can pop up on my radar. Maybe I can pick them up a little sooner rather than later. And I just want to know what some of your favorites are. And if I haven't heard of them, then I can add them to my list to be on the lookout for. Make sure you go check out Lindsay today and see what genre she's talking about. I have no idea, so I'll be excited to see that when it pops up as well. And I will talk to you guys again soon. Hope you have a great day. Bye.